Hello, everybody. Larry Young here again with another segment of OLaMan Living Life with Purity. And today, before I get going, I want to follow up on my last podcast there where I talked about my little dog JJ, who died last week, trying to protect me. And I don't know if exactly that was her main goal, but she was following her nature when she jumped into that pack of coyotes who were threatening me. And my tears were not so much of sadness about the life of this dog, but more about the gratefulness that I had, not only for this dog and her actions that took place in that moment, but also more about the wisdom in God's design, the natural order of things. And the more I've been able to take some time and think about this through my, as I call it, hauntings, thinking about this dog and what happened at that time, trying to deal with the trauma that happened, obviously, but also trying to find where the lesson is in there for me and for others going forward. So this is what I'm going to try to share today. JJ came to me broken. And when I got her, they were getting ready to put this dog down because she was not behaving properly and she was becoming too much problem for the owners who were trying to raise a Catahoula leopard dog, which is a hunting dog, and is used to large outdoor spaces it's designed for. That's its nature. It's half bloodhound and half bull mastiff. And just a gentle, beautiful temperament on these dogs. But they do need to run, and they do need to smell things and move around. That's the bloodhound in them. And the bull mastiff is a protective type. So it's looking for trouble spots and try to eradicate that. So this dog has, by its nature, has these two elements going on with it. And it's a really lovely dog. So if anyone's ever looking for a dog, I would recommend them, especially as a family dog. But make sure that you're going to take the time to exercise them, throw the ball for them, get them winded at least once a day. 30 minutes of good solid exercise is great for them. But they'll have a tendency, they don't typically walk from place to place. They will gallop or they'll move quickly between places. They don't just kind of wander around aimlessly. So they're working dogs. If you live on water, they're perfect for that because they have webbed feet, which is really kind of cool. These dogs were bred in the bayous, the swamps of Louisiana. And they're used primarily as pack hunting dogs when they go out coon hunting, or even, I think, even for wild boar hunting. Sometimes they'll use them down there. The dogs will work whatever you point them towards, and they'll look for anything that's outside the normal, and that's what they'll try to track down for the hunter. They don't typically kill anything. They're just supposed to tree it and keep it contained so that the hunter can come along and decide whether to eliminate this animal or to let it go and move on. So that's kind of the nature of the Catahoula leopard dog, and that was JJ through and through. So I'm very, very appreciative of God's design with this dog. I'm very, very appreciative of what this dog did in following its natural order at that time. And it's been a void in the energy level around the home right now between with River and I. She's a little depressed. River's my other dog, who was helping to train JJ when she came here. And River is a Texas healer, and that's a form of a cattle dog, off branch of the blue healer, that's been bred back to the Australian shepherd dog. So it's a little bit bigger than a typical blue healer, that being a Texas healer. And they're very tolerant of heat. They're very, very loyal. They're very, very work-oriented. You got to give them a job. Otherwise, they'll get a little bit frustrated and do things. They'll find a job, as we say. But I haven't found her to be destructive in any way, but she gets frustrated and is looking for work to do. Many times, if I don't run her or work her, she'll pace a bit around the house looking for something, and I know that I've got to take this dog out and burn off some energy. And then she's happy. So that's her nature, and I have to learn that about her because they really don't come with a set of instructions. You just have to find these things out. And every dog is tuned a little bit differently, and from not only their own independent design out of the batch of puppies, everyone's going to be a little bit different, just like kids. But what you have to do is try to find the best in that to bring that out as a trainer and figure out how that works for you as you develop your sort of culture in the home. So JJ, wonderful dog. I very much appreciate the relationship we had. I'm very, very sorrowful that I wasn't able to finish the job and put this damaged dog, who didn't know that she was a dog when she came to me, because her previous owner had raised her as if she was a child. And dogs are not people. Don't treat them as such. You can try to baby them a little bit, but they're not babies. They're not children. They're dogs. And they're happiest as a dog because that's their nature. This dog came to me, was frustrated, didn't know how to behave in a culture setting, that being a home, because she'd been misguided. She'd been lied to that she was a baby and not a dog. And when you're lied to enough like that, it creates a storm inside the brain and the hypothalamus that can't be dealt with typically by the brain and the reactions of the individual, whether it be a dog or a human, because what they're being told as being facts are actually not facts, not truths, and this goes against their nature and causes confusion. And when there's confusion, there's disturbances that come from questioning things, not making right choices, being impulsive about choices that are made, not, as we say, thinking things through before they act. This is what happens. And what we need to do is to try to calm this storm down in the dog and in the humans, and to try to quell these nervous itches that are going on, and to try to bring them back around so that they understand exactly who they are. And this is a common theme I keep trying to get across to folks, is you need to know who you are. That's the first step in understanding and being able to be confident in what it is you do and how you relate to the culture that is around you. And culture is something that's developed in humans as part of our progression. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen with the onset of a new ideology like we've had recently here since the COVID pandemic. And you can see what happens when something tries to change that quickly and that immediately. Confusion reigns. So nature typically takes a long time to make changes so that everything can kind of stay on board with the plan as we take nature and try to use it towards our needs for trying to develop a culture. And so an example of that might be that as we were developing as humans, getting a large head, large brain, things like this, we had initial signals about what this animal over here is dangerous, this tiger over here, dangerous, It doesn't want to play. It wants to eat you. Stay away from it. We had the snakes over here that could, boa constrictors could wrap you up and they would eat you. They're not there to play. They're there to eat you. They're a danger. This all developed into, rather than being individual instances of danger signs in our brain and thinking, they became grouped as a large group of dangerous things to stay away from, as a grouping of things and a class of things. Our brains got into this as our culture developed and as we became more closely tied to one another. And then we would learn from each other's experiences. You know, what happened to Grog? Well, Grog no come back. You know, Grog got eat. You know, well, how did Grog get eat? Well, Grog got ate by, big tiger. Okay, well, stay away from tigers because it didn't end well for Grog. So, I mean, very simplistic, but it takes time and, lots and lots of generations for these things to take hold and to be understood. Then language came about. It got easier to portray these things. But so much for our human history of things. But one of the things that came out of that, when things change quickly, and there's something that happened like here with this ideology change here since 2020, our brains can't react. And then what happens in this confusion takes over. Because, people just can't keep up with things that quickly and change and move against their nature because their confusion takes over and then they just get shut down and they can't do anything. And so what they end up doing is they say, I don't know what to do. What are you going to do? I'll do what you do. Whatever you say, I'll do. And they give up their own volition on these things because they're too, screwed up by this sudden change and not having anything natural to fall back on. So historically what's happened when these things do occur, these phenomena, if you will, typically things move back to the natural, established natural order. It takes several generations, but it ends up floating back to that, and people realize, well, they tried that didn't work. It was just untenable. Let's go back to what was working beforehand. And that seems to be sort of what is going on right now, but there's going to be a lot of resistance to things because people have found other ways to sort of support their craziness or their bad thinking. So it used to be that if it didn't work, food became your imperative, and then if it didn't work, food was no longer there, and so you had to change immediately, otherwise starvation took over and you died. Well, right now, that's not the issue, so they can sustain themselves for a longer time and sort of wait you out. So the only thing you can really do is to know who you are and stay on that track and wait it out, and it'll end up, running back to the normal course as God has designed things. So we've had a lot of talk about facts and fact checkers and things like this. And we've had a lot of people angry and yelling that people who know who they are, as I say, are uneducated. And they don't have the knowledge that those who have the facts do, because the people who have the facts all went for higher degrees and things like that. We know because we've got the degree. Well, that doesn't always work. And facts are not knowledge. Knowledge is knowing what works, in spite of what the facts may say. So somebody may say, well, there's an established set of facts here about this. Well, that may be, but try it. They'll find out it doesn't work. So what has happened? We've had a lot of years and centuries of people establishing facts, and then over time facts have changed. You know, the earth used to be flat, now it's round. These types of things. You know, but what has happened is that people have tried things, seen it didn't work, and they say, well, in spite of the facts, this is what we're going to do because this works. This is culture. This is how culture develops. Culture develops around trying certain things that you find may work. When they don't work, you go to the actual things that do work, and that's how your culture develops, because everyone comes to this agreement that we need to be successful, we need to get our lives in order, and we need to make sure our culture stays together, because we all do better if we have a healthy culture. So when humans were way back in the day and dealing with the lions and the tigers and the snakes and the other threats and things like that, and as these things all got grouped into a class of dangers, this is where our intellects took hold of these things, and then we became this whole class of risk management type of cultural seekers. And right now, that's where we're at in our phase of our human development right now. We have a lot of risk management people running around out there who are trying to change the facts about things. They're trying to say, we have to do this because there's an existential threat. And these are not existential threats to humans. These are existential threats to their facts and their need for maintaining power and control. And had I had that going on with this dog, you know, we wouldn't have lasted very long, because that dog, had it not yielded its previous set of facts about it being a baby, would never have gotten to the happy state that it ended up as a dog. And the same thing is going on with our friends and family right now who are having a real tough time. Now, I don't want to sit there and blast anyone's fashion sense or things like that, but what's the deal with all the blue hair and the crazy colors and things like that? These are outward signs of somebody who's unhappy, I feel. That they're trying to set themselves up as being different and being special. They prefer being a victim and getting, oh, you poor baby. The dog mentality. I'm a baby. I'm not a dog. And they want to be coddled. A lot of our friends and family do. Well, that's not the best thing for them. What we need to do is, for those who know who they are, is to make sure they've got a form of restricted discipline for these folks, so that they don't come off of their center of gravity as we're dealing with these folks, because they need something to circle around so that our gravity can pull them back in to a safe and sane cultural agreement, which we're missing right now. And we'll get back there, but it's going to take time, and it's going to have to come with a lack of aggression. But it's going to have to come, instead of aggression, it's going to have to come with a strong firmament and position that you have to take in these things. You have to stay strong, you have to know who you are, and you have to be confident that things will balance back in. I had to do the same thing with this dog JJ for, nearly a year and a half. I mean, there were so many times I wanted to put a bullet in her head. This dog just frustrated the heck out of me. But I remembered she was a dog, and she had not been given good raising. She'd been thinking she was a baby. And this is why when we slept, she had an agreement with me to sleep at the end of the bed, but by morning time she was always up on my pillow. She was raised that way, and that's how it made her feel better. And as long as she had a bath, I was fine with it, So she she was a good little dog, nothing but love. And I think that's the nature in all of us. It's why I say when you have a little baby sitting in the high chair, eating their crackers or their cookies and things like that, and you walk up on them and you say, "Hey, how you doing?" And like that, they want to offer you their cookie. They're sharing with you. This is the nature that they have. It takes a little bit of lifetime of beating that sense out of them when they stop offering you their cookie. And that's a sad day. But this is how our nature goes. And so what we need to do is we need to honor that, and we need to invite that as something to celebrate in our lives. So by doing that, we give glory back to God, and we thank Him for His perfect design in these things. And we humble ourselves to realize it's not about us. It never has been. But once we're ready to let that go, our nature can take us to the level where we're so exhilarated and happy. And that's with giving our gratefulness and our gratitude back to God each day, multiple times throughout the day. And when you do that and you polish the lens of your light and your nature, that lets the divine indwelling of the Holy Spirit live through you. And when you have that, you know who you are, and you're a happy individual. And other people around you see that, and they want to be a part of that too. And this is why I want people to understand that by living this way in a life of purity, and purity doesn't have to be, just the hardships and things like that. Purity is the exhilarating things. Purity is doing things, as best you can all the time. Give it your best effort. Give more. Think of others. Don't think of yourself. A selfish person is not a happy person. And no matter what, they may have gotten what they wanted out of the transaction, but they're still not happy. And you have to understand that with these folks, your friends and family, and realize they're not happy. They got all this blue hair and nose rings and other things going on, and these other, things that are going against their nature and trying to portray themselves as something that they're not, but it lets them get this victim card and to feel special. And that's what they're really looking for. It reminds me back when I was a ball player, and I had one of my mentors. I was, kind of complaining a little bit about all my time duties and things like that. I was a catcher. And so as a catcher for the baseball team, one of my duties was to spend a lot of time in the bullpen, catching the pitchers, helping to train them. They could practice their pitches and things like that. And the catchers could always be up to date on how the pitchers' movement on those balls were doing, because a lot of people don't realize that wind conditions, temperature of the day, humidity levels, things like that can all affect the flight of a baseball going past that 56 feet and a half to the plate. And, so I had to spend a lot of time down there. So I had to be one of the first ones to the ballpark each day, and I'd usually be one of the last people to leave. And I was just talking about how many hours it was taken out of me and how dragging it was. And my mentor said, he says, you could just quit your fucking bitching. I said, what? I said, that's the words he used. He says, quit your bitching. He says, you get out there and you spend a half an hour out there on that fence line also signing autographs. He says, when that kid comes up to you and he wants your autograph, he doesn't know you from Adam. You don't have a bubblegum card. He doesn't know you. And I said, yeah. And they said, well, what am I, to do? What do I talk about? He says, that kid isn't going to care about you in 3 more weeks at all. I said, but what he wants right now is your recognition. He wants your attention. He wants to be noticed by a ball player, one of the guys in uniform. He said, so when you're out there signing autographs, he says, learn this. He says, look the kid in the eye and say, hey, kid, you look like a ball player. And boy, watch their eyes light up and see, if they don't smile and glow a little bit, like, hey, somebody noticed. This can change a person immediately. If just somebody that you regard highly looks at you and says, I appreciate you. Those are very, very strong words. And they can move people, and they can change them, change their direction, give them so much motivation, and it invites them into your space and your culture, as we've done here. So this, I believe, is a great way to go about dealing with our friends and family who have been dealing with this disturbing factor in their lives. We're going to get through it, but we have to use the right tools, and you have to be confident in who you are. So think about that, and I'll be back.